Good morning. Good morning, Carol and Barbara Board. I am here, TheoSophia. So I have chosen a topic of conversation today and was brought many insights to share with everyone. So I'll begin. And then if you have a question or if it brings about an awareness about your life and where you're at and where you're going, you can certainly write it in. So we're going to start with the greatest simplicity. We're going to talk about self-love. And as soon as I heard this was our topic, my response was thinking of the library and all the books that are written about self-love. And how many times in working with people, oh yeah, I've been there, done that. I love myself. And yet if you take a look and look deeper, you realize that individuals really don't, because they don't understand the depth that that word talks about. Good morning, Cavell. Thank you for joining us. So, Master Lady Nada, who is one of the very, very highly well-known ascended beings, she's actually in charge of the karmic board, shared with me how she learned about love. And it wasn't like a few days or a week. It was upon arriving at the retreat where she was going to study as a novice. And for 6 months, they were in what they would call a court, like a big opening. And they received everything they would possibly contemplate they could need. There was beautiful roses and plants and like a little stream. And the beauty of life was attempting to show itself. And harmony was the goal of this retreat experience. So, as you can be assured, if it was any of us, we would go, this is great. I got this. I'm all about the beauty and plenty of wonderful food and the sunlight and the beautiful clouds, until 6 months hit. And then it was time to take step 2. And in step 2, certainly not this would not happen today, but they shaved all their heads. And they were given a cloak that matched the auric expression of who they were. Perhaps not everyone here can see auras to really understand that, but it could be quite colorful, from very pale to very dramatic. And over that 6 months that they had been watching everybody, they pretty much, the masters knew what everyone's issues were about self-love. So everyone would gather together in groups of 7. They were picked. You were to choose. They were given 6 other beings to live with. Day in, day out, they only had 2 hours a day that was private time. And she shared how she would always go down to the water side and drench her face and head into the water because she just couldn't grasp why everyone just couldn't get along. So it was about finding harmony, understanding that those other 6 people mirrored yourself. And it made me contemplate how that would work today, and how little things anger us, little things make us move into judgment or criticism, and just how long that would take. Well, it took years. And about the time that they would all finally be able to look at each other and have an awe about the light they saw, they would get another 6 people. So this was kind of a continuum of this retreat, which I don't know that we can fathom even participating in our world today, but perhaps we have. And it just kept going and kept going. And there were times, there were there were people we would describe as horrible beings that would be the other six. So I always say it's to go deep within yourself can always be the most challenging part. And to be able to embrace it and to love it is the true path. Good morning, Joanna M., and Christina, and Gina M., and Marby, all for coming in here today, and Cavell with Barbara Ward. So you might ask me, well, did this ever stop? Yes, but what did they learn? And I wrote it down because I didn't want to have it be wrong. What they learned is that there's no outsider outside of you that can ever disturb you. And that's the word she used, disturb. Interesting, isn't it? So those people that are in your life, and I have no doubt that somebody has at least one, why does that person disturb you is always from within you. That's why I always say, if you're having an emotional reaction, it's your own. Own it. It's not about the other person. Because somehow we read the people around us and we know how to help them support from this action I'm describing to develop even more self-love. So why is self-love so important? It is a precision of the brain where it once started, that we had a perception of our world and that it was not how we thought it ought to be. Certainly judgment, criticism, and how we may have been around people that taught us how to try to control it and change it into our way. So, ask me questions. Tell me what you think about that whole process. It took them 3 years to finally reach a point where they were in inner harmony. And harmony with the numerous of the others who had all begun together, but various groups of 7. So just think, we do not have that school here where we can take 6 months and be with 6 other people to attempt to love them and to find out why we choose to not love them. What is it that disturbs us? What is it that's affecting us? So there are ways. Good morning, Prime 3 and Tony. Tony, we're now doing conversation where you can ask me a question instead of me giving messages. You can consider that this is a large message about self-love, because where is it inside you that there is someplace that needs to be loved and you haven't had the willingness to look at it, but maybe you can look at people outside of yourself that disturb you and know that there's a piece of that person inside putting a little fire to you somewhere, and that's what needs to be resolved and brought into peace. So Gina says she's just listening while she's at work. That's wonderful. So Lady Nada learned one of her first huge transitions in becoming ascended, that when it is about the word harmony, it's a harmony first within yourself. And there's also the one where you must become harmless. So when we have people that are disturbing us. We may not always make the choice to be harmless. So a lot of these small innuendos come to us to help us grow, to help us understand where our deficits are within ourselves. And the more love that comes to you, the more love that you bring into a place where you can live and breathe it, the greater happiness you'll find. And, the love of God is magic. So when we think of miracles happening, miracles are going to happen to those who allow God's love to live and breathe and radiate through them. So let's just see if anyone has a question here. I don't see any. So is there anyone here who knows what they may need to look at within themselves? The word difficult is coming to me. I'm almost positive that at some time or another, you believe life is difficult. So that would say to us that people around you who live a difficult life disturb you. And that would be the reminder that this is a place within you that you need to find a greater love for. So, difficult. We all probably have another level of a description of what that is for us. Perhaps some people it's just difficult to truly grasp the depth of God in our lives and that He's always there, that we're never alone, versus being able to always move into a surrender and understand that He's always with you. Think of how life could be if you truly, every experience of the day, and even as you sleep, would know that God was there with you. Pretty profound, right? So I did pick a card before we began today, and it was about dancing to the rhythm of life. Well, I wish I could see a raise of hands, but who believes they are on that rhythm of life? Because what happens is as you grow, it changes. So I'll read you what it says. Today I find the joy in my heart. I lighten my life by releasing what I no longer need. And that would be the disturbed part. I align myself with who I am and gently acknowledge who I am not. I am grateful for what I possess, and I am at peace with what I do not. I appreciate and accept my life as it is. I live according to the will of God. In this way, I dance with life and see the magic of love bloom. And here she is, dancing life. So let's each think of a place where it's something that disturbs us, something emotional, a person that disturbs us. I would think there's a lot of interesting people in the world today that are disturbing us. That's why our world is in such of an aching pain. So if we're in an aching pain about life, then there are places for us to look for the disturbed parts. So, we own limitation. Where does limitation come from? Limitation is the gift, if you want me to call it that is brought to you by your ego. The ego, which is trying very hard to show it can help you survive, always takes you into a separated self and down a rabbit hole. Yes, I do believe that's what Alice in Wonderland was all about. What was in the rabbit hole? Things that were disturbing. Even as we were children, we wanted it to be all happy and people to be truthful and honest. And when you go down the rabbit hole by the ego saying, oh, come try this, this will work. And instead we have to choose the love in our heart. You know, the heart, we could even call it a great machine. It has a capacity beyond you really yet can believe. There's so many things in the heart. There is the threefold flame. Depending on the level you've worked with it and developed it, it's the wisdom of the world, consciousness. It's the love of all that is. And importantly, it is divine power. Because the other thing we've also done is given our power away to other people. Let's think about that for a moment. How do we all do that and why? Well, someone could say to me, I choose to want to be accepted, so I will act out or choose to behave or choose to desire similar to someone who you want to love you. And here we are back to that word love again. It isn't about being accepted or loved by anyone else, my friends. It's about being loved by you and allowing that love that you become aware of, which is God's love, to be beyond that which we can even describe on even how large it is. It's infamous. So, life is about love. So where are you on that word of life and love? Where are you taking on and challenging yourself? The heart can be an experience of pain, it's true, and loss. And that's in the human part of you. As the greater spirit of you grows, you can give no power to the human. Because we're on a journey to discover not only the soul part of us, but the beautiful spirit that we're all becoming. And when our heart is in that spirit, is when it's truly alive and free. Yes, I did. I mentioned the word freedom. Freedom is not going to come for the human in its perception. It's too tied up with too many things over lifetimes. And that's what the revelation in this period of time, in this life, is about. We regret, we are angry, and we're upset of those things that happen or that have happened. And it leaves a wound that we don't always think is possible to clear because it was so deep and so painful. So my encouragement today is to really begin to feel what love is. Love has the power of God's action in it, and it can heal the wound. It can heal the rage and the anger. Yes, it may start at someone else, but it really isn't someone else. It's all about you. It's about you and how you've responded and how we may feel guilty about that response. And you can spend a lot of time. There's 144,000 parts of you treading on similar land of similar areas of yourself. And it's why you don't know the self-love. Self-love becomes within all 144,000 cells when you have accomplished this action. So can you even begin to contemplate it? And I'm going to almost say no, because it's perfectly still. there's hardly a thought because you forget. Energy follows the thought. So if you are one who's a thinker and always going from here to there, quiet is your answer. Not to have you seem bored or sullen to someone, but instead to find an inner passion inside your own heart of the exciting concept of quiet. You know, I mentioned how in the beginning, Lady Nada, they were all in a beautiful court that had everything. It was luscious. Anything you could have dreamt of, they had. And how swiftly, once they were placed with these other 6 people, 7 in a group, and they felt totally horrible, wondering, why am I here? Have you ever wondered that? Why am I here? And it was because they had to learn those pieces that easily draw them down into the hole of the forgetting, of the separation. They were not able to hold on to all that beauty. And in the end, however many years later it might take for you, I've been on my journey 34 years, and I can now hear the quiet. That's radiant, full of light, no matter where I look. That's what I wish for you to all have happen. So we have to look at these disturbing things. And someone may say to me, well, that is what life is about, isn't it? The answer is yes. But if you're also feeling that you're to be a Chila and discover that your life is about embracing those disturbing parts and find out why are they disturbing you and what do you need to embrace and to let go. So let's see another card here that's speaking to where we are now. Interesting. First and foremost, we forget who's with us because we are never alone. I think the other day I talked about the serenity light and how God would bring that to me to have me come into my peace and not empower the distortion outside of myself. So let me read this to you. My bond with God and the angels is a flame that illuminates my heart. See? Right away, takes us back into that wondrous organ of the heart. That and the spiritual heart. Regardless of the darkness around me, this bond is the foundation of my inner strength. Lady Nada also talked about the threefold flame being there and having the stronger the threefold flame becomes, the greater your I am presence has capacity to come and sit with your heart also. So as these darkness that could possibly get there, these distressors, and as you work with them, more of the true life of that which has been given for all young Chilas begins to become alive. It allows me to go on, having faith that all things will fall into divine order for my greatest benefit. I ask the universe for guidance, knowing I will always receive its help and protection. Today, the sun will rise and shine for me, for I am never left alone. You know, I got a beautiful text from a friend this morning, and I set it on my table I was sitting at, and I caught the look of an angel bending over and looking at my text. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm glad you like that. But you just really don't get. There are a lot of holy heavenly beings all around you. And if you could, it would let you take a breath and allow life to be somewhat different for you. I'm not speaking about nonchalant and, oh yeah, it's just going to be okay. No, it's called unconditional love. Today I see the light in everybody. I seek the divinity in each being, and I accept others as they are. What if we could agree to try to do that for an hour? I bring compassion to all my brothers and sisters of light. I offer unconditional love to everyone I meet. I join my soul with theirs so that we may grow together in universal love. So let's say we're going to do that. What is it going to feel like when that disturbance comes? Or that disturbed feeling in a group of people? This is how you know when there's still not enough self-love. What we call disturbing things, situations can happen. But it's about you remaining centered, still, knowing that there's purpose to all things. And I know that's hard for people to hear. And maybe you need to contemplate practicing that. You know, I've had a few falls myself, and yet I would have my students say, well, why would that happen to you? And I said, well, I'm just like everybody else. Things happen. And it depends on how I perceive or look at it as to what it's going to do to me. The one time we were in Mount Shasta and I saw the great light radiate out of Shambhala, and I went forward without looking where my feet were, and I stumbled on a stump. So it was purposeful. I had to become more awake, even more aware of each step and the importance to it. It wasn't happened for any real ill reason from anyone other than myself. And I can still remember that light. Now I walk towards it effortlessly, knowing where my feet plant themselves. So let's see here. Are there any questions yet? Well, everyone seems to be quiet. Not such a bad thing. Quiet when mother and father speak. To what level do you think that you can hear? It's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because we hear through the throat. We hear that frequency of the higher light through the throat. And it'll become resonant. You're welcome, Carol. Yes. So I'm just going to take a moment here and connect to some of your master teachers with you. And if that's all right, and see what else is something that they may like to hear. Everyone has many who walk with you. And what do I mean by the word many? Many could be 4, many could be 10. You're just perhaps not completely aware yet. But in your library of light, where everyone who's worked with you sits in a pew, I see many heads. So if you could only begin to not worry, knowing that someone's there helping you. You know, everyone has a scribe who's writing down every word, every feeling, every action, every look you do. I once met this person also in Chestnut. And my husband told me, oh, that's your scribe. Just write down how you're sitting and looking at him. It is quite interesting, isn't it? If we can really let ourselves come to an understanding of the depth of another world that is really moving around us as we're on this path of discovery. Just as much as they're there, you're there. And that might be an interesting concept to think about. And who are you? Are you the one with the disturbances? Are you becoming the one without them? Are you becoming one that can look at life and get excited about it and how adventurous it is? I was speaking to my daughter yesterday that she was born breech, and I said, in my perception, you've been kicking your feet and walking out forward every minute of every day. Oh, well, I don't get that. I go, well, think about it. We don't think always about the small things. So here we have something from Kim J. Hello, everyone from South Africa. Visiting family, how do we focus to see our master inside during meditation? My practice involves listening to the sound current. Thank you. Well, I'm going to take you're mentioning sound current as frequencies. Let me know if I'm wrong. It's going to be a higher, quicker frequency. He's saying he is there. Yes, I need you to root deeper so that you can reach that higher frequency. That means opening your root and getting all the way down into the center of the earth. So I need to emphasize for everybody that is the rooting necessary, which I have in the beginning of my videos, for you to eventually get to your ascension. Because the higher the frequency, you have to be able to meet that, to allow it in. So the deeper you're rooted, the higher you're going to hear and experience. So let me know if that makes sense to you, Kim. Anyone else? I would say the important ones to connect with are your higher self, for sure, your master teacher, and there's usually, if you're into doing healing, a master healing. And there'll be ones that want to work with your consciousness to help you bring it into the world in a more pure way. Okay? If you're someone who hasn't yet met your higher self, work on your rooting and bringing light into your heart. All right, good. What do I mean by being rooted and how? The first chakra at the base of the spine is the root chakra. It is that energy which gives you being safe, having vitality, and frequency. So, if that root chakra is only maybe a couple feet below, not even reaching down to your feet, your whole energy field is more up here where it doesn't know what it's doing. When you can get that root chakra and you allow it to come down, let's connect into the crystalline grid. Say it and it will happen. And it's going to take us down to our inner channel, down past that root chakra, and start trucking down through all the levels of the earth. If you can keep your eyes open, if you have vision, you can watch the different levels of dirt and rocks, all the things you see on your way down to the depth, to the center of the earth. you'll reach a place where it gets really quiet, and that is called the gap. And then it will start again, which means you're almost to the bottom. And when you land, you'll have your feet on a beach. It isn't what you would think. It is a beach. It's where Mother lives up on the cliff. So, in that holding that rooted energy that far in, it allows the blossom of who you are to hold more light. So, if we're only here, this will never open because it's not safe. You must come down deep within you into the earth. And as this begins to spawn and open, your consciousness will grow and you will have a much greater awareness about love and all the other levels of your path that you're going to be on. So let me know if that makes more sense. There are 7 chakras, and this is the first chakra, the root. Yes, there are actually 12. Yes, we won't probably get to talking about 12. But this first one, that safety issue, is again probably something that's the disturbing piece for most of you. Why is that disturbing? Can you have memories? How do you hear sounds within the third eye? So are you asking me, how do you? I hear sounds through my voice, through my root, 5th chakra. That is where my spiritual hearing comes from. So explain to me what you're asking. Is that how you hear things? And then I will look for you. You know, when we receive impressions, that's what I'm going to call what we would receive from, whatever you want to call it, heaven, Mother, Father. My computer's doing something I don't want it to do. Impressions can be felt through all chakras. But because you're doing sounds, and I am a sound healer, I don't specifically hear them in my third eye. Perhaps, if anything, you may see a visual and it will have sounds in it. But for the true quality, I'll rely upon my throat and my heart. My meditation involves focusing at the eye center to go in and beyond by listening to the sound within. All right, let me say this again. My meditation involves focusing at the eye center to go in and respond by listening to the sound within. How long have you done this? Because I'm almost wanting to say perhaps you should do it with the heart. You know, the heart is it's where we ascend through. The third eye is not where we ascend through. We ascend through the heart. So, and there will be different levels of light and understanding given to you in your heart. But I'm not saying that, you have to sit and feel with that. I'm not familiar of one that, the third eye only exists because of Atlantis. And it was people began to believe they could see and manifest, and that it was them doing it instead of God. So that's why 2 petals of your crown chakra of thousands, 1,000 petals separated. So I would feel, and I'm getting many confirmations here, if you can go into the heart center and because that's truly where beyond lives, and listen to the sound within. Because what happens is the heart and the throat are in alignment uh, with sound. How do I explain that? It means that your heart, throat blue, heart, depending on what level you're at, can be emerald green, can be pink. As it aligns, becomes violet, and it's the flame of reunification. So, something to try. We're all a choice and we're all different, and how we've remembered or where you've gotten it from. Thank you. You follow the teachings of a living master. Then it isn't I who should tell you any different. Um, Perhaps different tradition. I follow Master Babaji, whom is alive. Uh, so trust inside your heart and see what you're guided to do. But thank you for coming, Kim, today to help us have, all of us, a greater illumination. Thank you. From South Africa. Yeah. So my curiosity is, do you see everything with your third eye? Or how is that action for you, if you don't mind me asking? Always takes that moment of time. Karina America Robbins, good morning. Oh, didn't want to come in. No. All right. So we were talking about self-love, right? I show we have 6 people, so not everybody who can come in is still here. But that's fine. Perhaps there's just a little piece you needed to hear. All right. Self-love. You might want to make a list. And what you might find is it's a very unimportant list that you write. You feel you're kind, you're gentle, that you share, and that you have gratitude. There are so many other descriptions of this self-love that those type of things don't teach. I try to meditate as we are taught, and it is always a struggle keeping the senses at bay. Well, I've been guided to come and be here for everyone. And I can speak that which is truth from the love within my heart. And I'm honoring your disturbance. And that's exactly what we're here to talk about. So my suggestion, as I'm being shown, is I want you to imagine a waterfall, and that you can walk behind the waterfall. And there's you close into the wall of the cliff, and then there's a waterfall in front of you. Do you see? So they're wanting you to gently move forward. Very gently. You will not fall. There is enough room. And feel the thundering of that water hitting you. And try to do it long enough to where the sound goes away. And there's you and the liquid light of God's love. You can all try this. And then learn to breathe it gently. Just breathe gently, knowing the peace that it brings you as it's clearing and releasing. And then step back. And then when you're ready, do it again, if it feels comfortable to you. That's true, Barbara Ward. There's aspects that you don't think about. So why don't you see for a moment if you can think of one and mention it, and then we'll talk about it. I think that was the message from Lady Nada, is there's things we don't even think about as self-love. For instance, cleanliness and being filthy. How do you feel when you see a filthy person? We tend to have them here in Florida. They're on the corner begging. And then there's beggars. How do you feel about them? Long time ago, I was always told that most enlightened people in the world are those who beg, for they know God will always take care of them. Now, that's a lot to have to align deep inside of you. You're welcome, Kim. And what if Jesus is one of those people on the corner? You see, we just never really know. But as you work with the development of your heart and its feeling nature, and that's why I'm mentioning the heart to you, Kim, your feeling nature, which is the higher level versus the emotional state in the second chakra, will become heightened, that you will be able to have feeling and trust it and have truth of it. And that in itself is another level of development. You know, trusting that communication within your heart. You know, let's say if we all step back for a moment, we're all sitting here together, and our heart reaches out and touches the group. There's one word that comes to me. I don't know which comes to you, but I do feel love. And it brings tears to my eyes, the love I feel. So here what we're talking about is increasing that love. There can never be too much. Never, ever, ever be too much. So they're wanting me to re-mention to you how in my hand I fell. I crushed my left hand, which energy comes into, and 22 bones. But it took 2 years, but it was healed. But when did it heal? When I stopped going to the therapist, and by 2 weeks later, it was perfectly normal. I never was able to do that at the therapist. She felt she had gotten done. It's perfectly normal. So, what a lesson for me, huh? It wasn't about doing what I was told to do or letting her do what she had to do. It was in me all the time. It's just that, was it fear? I don't know, but it was a rude awakening. You know, we have the power of such a gift of the healing nature within ourselves. All right, Barbara says, I don't have any judgment about someone who might be filthy or begging, but I do have to step back and not be triggered by rude, aggressive people. Barbara, I don't think you're alone. So what we know from our discussion today, that part of you is in you somewhere. And I know you would never think it, but you cannot grasp now in your inner dimensions how deep something can be lying there, and it's making you have that response. Yeah. So if I were you, I would try to maybe let yourself sit and write about the word rude. What is rude to you? When someone says what? And what do you think that makes someone feel like? And why do they do that? They're wanting to be the boss, wanting to be in charge. There's all these pieces which are healing that you're going to discover and have them be lifted from within you. And so how does that become? When I see a rude person, I kind of chuckle inside how much they need to be important. That they want to throw their power around, you know. And what was the other one? Aggressive people. Let me just say, when someone goes to be aggressive with me, I have a hand that comes out. It's not allowed near me or to touch me. And this is true for all of you as you grow. You know, there's just certain things. There's the word sacred and honor and respect. People have to know that about you, but first it must become you. Understand how I'm saying that? You must become respectful. You must own that you're sacred and honor it. And those three words are very powerful on the development of who you really are on an in-depth level. I also love the word precious. What does that word precious mean to you? To me, that first place Lady Nada went to that was all wonderful, that was probably a very precious experience. There is a part of me that's very precious, just as there is for you. The difference is the level and quality of which we can touch it and own it. And therefore, why we're having this discussion today. And the filthy and begging, something that you've already healed. Do we all begin having everything? Well, you know, our consciousness was grown from allowing the laggards to come, we thought, to learn from us. And what's happened is we learned their separateness. So here we are today with what we have been choosing along the way. So I would say all of us has a piece of that precious love of God. We're all a star being deep inside ourselves and angelic. And if that still exists with you, it's time to get it out, to embrace it. You know, my daughter, once when she was little, we were working on something. I don't remember now, but I remember what her words said. Mommy, why don't I just kiss the dragon? Why doesn't everybody just do that? Just love it. And then it's not so scary. Yeah, from the words of a 5-year-old, right? Let's just kiss the dragons. How simple is that? We can all do that. Believe me. It is discovering what's there, how we ignore it, how we believe it can't be us. But yet it keeps coming up in our energy field, and that person who's like that keeps showing up because we ignore it. We can't believe it's so. But when you can get to where, well, let me go in and check that out. There's some reason that disturbs me. That's the word. How does it disturb me? Any other questions? Very good. It's wonderful to learn about South Africa and how we are all one and yet can be in such a different space, right? And have a different perception of things. We may have all lived in South Africa before, and maybe Kim's lived here before. We really don't know. We are all still responding to karma that we've lived. And thank God, because of the violet flame, we don't have to find the person and work it out. The violet flame is willing to blaze through us and destroy the karma that we're living tied to. So I want to pick one more card. You're going to love this one. Truth. Let's see what it says. Today I discover my greatest truth is within me. It is a divine force that whispers from my inner self. I listen to this voice closely, putting aside my controlling mind. Yes, think of the puppet. Toop, toop, toop. In this way, I find all the answers I'm looking for. I am now in harmony with myself. That's the word we begin with, right? And I welcome the love of God, which is the truth that will guide me towards my fullest, most shining radiance. You know, I do have something I always say about truth. Did you understand that as you grow and your consciousness raises, your truth changes? So what could be true for you today could be different tomorrow. And there's some piece of understanding that you must bring with that you are growing. And who you were a year ago knew a truth, but you've processed and evolved that to whatever it is today. So if you're on your journey, it's going to continue to illuminate. So let's see, I think Barbara's written something here. Yes, I have learned to examine when I get triggered, to step back and question what is inside of me that created the mirror and now needs to be healed. Very good work, Barbara. I know you are diligently on your path. So, we've talked a lot about self-love today. We've talked about lots of words, right? Why being rooted is so important. And I think if you all begin to walk upon the earth deeply rooted, doesn't mean you're heavy. It means that you're holding like a tree that's very deep into the earth. The wind and the least little thing can't blow it over. Excuse me, but it can blossom into this beautiful light experience. So, and then truth. We haven't yet begun to own truth yet in our planet, let's say. It's there for the picking. But we're on this journey together. So let's see, here's Carol. If I believe I have karma with someone, must I understand the issue myself before the violet flame can make me clear it? That's a very good question. And if you become aware of karma, karma is going to represent itself as something that keeps repeating itself. Whether a behavior of yours or a response, one or the other. You know, we've all done everything. Let's just be honest. We're not all this purified little being who never did anything wrong. It was part of the process of the development. And as the karma heals, then perhaps we do become that pure self. But yes, you must become aware of the repetitory of it, discover the feelings, and then you can call the violet flame in to shatter and consume, all cause, core, and effect of whatever's lying there waiting to be embraced. Is it hiding? No. It's just maybe a long, long time ago was the last time it raised its fiery head, you know. Very good questions today. So we've been talking about an hour and 2 seconds. So I'll give it a minute to see if anyone else has a question. I hope you received a lot from today. I'm going to return on Friday at 10. And thank you to all those who came and gifted me with receiving that wonderful experience of love from everybody. It was beautiful. So I hope that answers your question, Carol. You know, some people live within the violet flame. If you learn from the masters that I am presence, you know, you call in the presence and you activate the clear light of the presence around you for protection, and you call forth the violet flame from within to blaze so that you're attempting to walk as you bump into things. Those things that could be disturbing. And yes, I think that's our main word today that she gave us. So I have an idea. We may talk about the brain and all these type of things on Friday. But we'll see what you are intrigued by inside yourself. And all I can say, if you're doing what we talked about, just keep doing it. There's always more. You know, the healing really never ends. It's not like you attain a piece, wrapped up, toast a sandwich, finish. No. Those who we have on our high hearts, like Master Babaji and Jesus and the Buddha and Kuan Yin, they're all still healing. They're probably not who we know them as because they've continued to evolve. And recently, Serapis Bey has been shared with me that he is the son of Sanat Kumara. He is a Kumara. How do you like that? He will be taking on the journey of Sanat Kumara when whoever it is that has this job now. So they're all growing. They're all moving forward. And Serapis Bey is fifth ray. He's a healing master. So much to learn, much to talk about. Carol says thank you. And Barbara Ward says thank you for sharing your wisdom and many blessings. And I accept all that and send a gazillion many blessings out to all of you as the next few days you think about what disturbs you. Make a note. Write it down. You don't have to get to it that day, but have it begin to build this place where you go to when it is a quiet time, and see if you can let yourself be guided into where it goes. All right? So, enough for today. Many blessings. See you Friday. Conversation. How wonderful.